The One Piece live action has been out and trending in a record-breaking amount of countries, but is it, in common terms, worth the hype? I myself have rewatched it multiple times, so in a word, yet it better be. And this is a bit late now, so I've had the chance to rewatch it multiple times. So, as I can tell you, as a fan of the manga and anime, I, like most people, was equally terrified and excited as I pressed play on episode 1 on Netflix. Not only did that fear come from, countless live action anime that were less than adequate to say the least, but some of the not so good ones even came from Netflix itself. And not only the streaming service itself, Netflix, but also the production company behind the One Piece live action, Tomorrow Studios, was the exact same studio behind the incredibly below acceptable level Cowboy Bebop live action. Now, they said they learned from their mistakes with Bebop, but who knows? This wouldn't be the first time that we've been lied directly to our faces. But there were also, countless other factors to consider, like how involved they claim Oda was with the production, and all the sets that they showed off a year before looked really great. Not to mention that the trailers for this were actually all really good. But, we've been burned before and are scared to, experience that pain again. Nevertheless, I was still very excited for the show, perhaps more excited for it than anything else this year. So there I was, sitting in front of my TV, ready for whatever was coming my way. But oh boy, was I not expecting to love it as much as I do. This show delivers on pretty much everything I could have wanted. And not just One Piece fans can enjoy this too. And I know a lot of people say that about shows they love because, they want other people to watch them. So then they watch them only to find out, oh wait, that wasn't true. You kind of do have to be in the know to understand what's going on. But a lot of people that I know who have never heard of One Piece or have never experienced One Piece before had an absolute blast with this show, which I'm so grateful for. I think it's a better introduction to One Piece than the anime probably, because with the anime, you have to go through a lot of episodes to get to a point. I mean, I liked it right away. That's just me. Also, the anime wasn't my first exposure, so maybe that was it. But, if it's your first time, it might take you 44 episodes until you're like, oh, no, this is actually really good. Or you might like it. Who knows? But with this, you've got 8 episodes, live action, fast-paced. And, you'll know right away if you like the series or not. Okay, so a huge problem with live action anime is that, yes, most do suck. So it hurts a little bit to know that there are people out there who don't watch anime, and that's fine. You don't have to watch anime. But they might see this story, and they're like, I want to experience it. Oh, there's a live action. Well, I'll watch it then. And most of the time, it's hurtful to know that that's the only experience. Like Cowboy Bebop. If that's your only experience, I'm sorry. But One Piece is not that. In fact, quite the opposite, because I knew people who were too scared to get into the anime who finally started as a direct result of this series. All right. Enough about life surrounding the show. What about the show itself? Why does it not suck? Well, that is a great question. But before we get to that, we must first address the fact that, no, it's not perfect in every single aspect. And it's not better than the anime or the manga. But I do feel that it's a great show to run alongside. All right, we'll get to my garps and gripes along the way. But first, the casting, because my goodness, Oda picked the perfect people for every single character. Iñaki Godoy was such a joy to watch as Luffy. Through all of Netflix's outstanding marketing campaign, which is still ongoing, by the way, Iñaki was such a fun person to watch. As Luffy, same thing. He nails that naive but inspiring optimism that the character is famous for, He's eccentric and energetic, and also he's just really, really funny. But of course, Luffy's not one of my favorite characters just because of how fun and lighthearted he is, although that is a big part of it. But it's because of how serious he can get, and throughout those emotional beats that he hits extremely well. Can't help but feel something every time that happens. When Luffy calls out his attacks, in fact, when anyone does, you'd think that would be really cheesy or really cringy, but it actually just sounds actually really good, because they fully lean into that goofiness of One Piece, That's a part of, it's not all goofy, you know, there's some really serious and dark stuff there, but goofiness and silliness is a part of the show, right? That's a part of the story. And they fully go into that. Look no further than the Den Den Mushi, right? All right, and McKenny with Zoro is such a gem. Like, he has a very specific and similar performance throughout the whole series, exactly like the character of Zoro, right? And he plays that serious, you know, speak as low as I can while, you know, still sounding casual, and also I'm just super cool and deal with it vibe. He plays that beautifully, while also being able to hit his emotional beats really, really well. His stunt work is also incredible, and having seen Rurouni Kenshin, the final, I expected no less. That man is crazy with the katana. And in this one, he's crazy with 3. However, it's a little disappointing. He doesn't talk while having the sword in his mouth. Oh well, I guess we'll get over it. Taz Skylar, incredible. Exactly the Sanji that we wanted, at least that I wanted. You know, he's charming, he's cool. He did a lot of training, and all that training that he went through paid off so well. Beautiful. The team behind the show completely nailed it. They succeeded at adapting Sanji's character. They adapted his love-struck traits very well into live action. Instead of being, well, anime Sanji, live action Sanji has a like charming, flirtatious energy that still keeps him thinking he's being super smooth, but still failing to land anything with the ladies anyway.
Mommy! You're all okay.
Jacob Romero is also hilarious as Usopp. You know, he plays the tall tales, goofy coward very well. And of course, Emily Rudd was so good as Nami. And she also has one of the greatest performances in the show. I also want to mention the integration of all the Straw Hats backstories. When adapting the story into a Western live-action show with only 8 episodes, they had to change some things, you know, to better fit the pacing they wanted. Rather than a break from the story to spend an entire episode or 2 on one character, they kind of spliced the backstories throughout the show. And this works out really well. And actually, it's ironic because I say that's great, but Sanji is my favorite backstory, because it is just beginning, middle, end. You see the whole thing, start to finish. I also love Zoro's flashback, how emotionally integrated it is into the scene of just Zoro climbing out of the well. It's great. The villains are also a highlight. Captain Morgan and Alvida were both very, very good. The only thing is Captain Morgan maybe wasn't as much of a murderous tyrant as he was in the manga and anime, but that's whatever, it's fine. Buggy was, of course, the best. Jeff Ward was one of the most over-the-top and enjoyable performances of season 1. The actor for Kudo also nailed that, you know, creepy, narcissistic genius that is actually also kind of stupid. Like, why didn't you make sure Zoro was dead, buddy? Why'd you just let him go? That's fine. All right, not really a villain, but just a great character. Mihawk was also one of my favorite performances, and the physique of Mihawk was on point. Don Krieg was also reduced to a cameo role and somewhat replaced with Arlong in the Baratier arc, which really helped structure the story like a traditional season of television. And if you're mad about it, let's be honest, are you really mad about Don Krieg, the least interesting villain in the East Blue? All right, here's a character that was done dirty by the promotional material. He looks so underwhelming, and yeah, this is Arlong. Since he wasn't as physically imposing as his manga and anime counterpart, I thought his performance had to be intimidating enough to sell me. And it maybe wasn't perfect, but I did end up liking Arlong a lot more than I expected to. But I am happy how he looked in the end, because I would prefer prosthetics if that's what the makers decided would look better than CGI. They looked weird, but they're fishermen. They're supposed to look weird, so yeah. And on the topic of CGI, I maybe wouldn't describe this as a hit or miss show, because that implies that you're not sure what you're getting half the time, because it could either look great or it could look terrible, and you're picking and choosing. But the vast majority of CGI in the show was really impressive. Luffy's Gum Gum powers turned out really well. In fact, all of the Devil Fruit powers turned out really well. And the Lord of the Coast, beautiful. That sunset hitting it, oh, glorious. Buggy's Chop Chop Fruit was probably one of my favorite effects. Aside from a couple shots of his head, it looks really good. And also, I think the reason why it looks so good is because they actually interacted with real things. Thank you, okay? It's not hard, Hollywood. Just have your actors interact with actual objects and then edit with CGI later. It's not that hard. Sorry. All right, apart from the computer effects, the set design is also incredibly impressive. So there were a lot of changes to the series in order to adapt the story and justify its existence by not being a direct one-to-one creation. Like the Usopp pirates, they're gone. They're gone. Keeping the motive in the Syrup Village arc, but kind of completely changing the setting and situations. All right, I'll deal with it. It's good. I like the change. Nami's village, not knowing, her deal with Arlong. The list doesn't stop there, but if I keep going, I'll be here for an unjustified amount of time. But arguably, one of the biggest changes was probably the whole Grandpappy D Garp subplot. So this Garp with Kobe and Helmeppo going after Luffy throughout the season, and I honestly think that this added some really good moments. I loved making Kobe a bigger character and having him be the one to hand Luffy the poster at the end. It just made Kobe's motives and friendship with Luffy seem much heavier and have a bigger impact in the end. I also was not expecting to love Helmeppo as much as I did for playing such an annoying character type. You know, the I'm smarter than you even though I'm really not. I'm just spoiled and you suck and I'm better, ha ha. You know, I've actually found myself really enjoying watching his progression throughout the show and relationship with Kobe. Now, Garp. Garp is very different from the source material, but also the same. Garp feels like they took all of his traits, or a lot of his traits, and they just tweaked him a bit, right? Garp is serious. You know, he's on a mission. I'm talking about the anime Garp. But he's also insane and hilarious and goofy and whatnot. And they take both of those and they do both at times, although they do lean more into the serious one. He loves food. They kept that. I love it. And he genuinely does a really good job. And that constant pursuit of the Straw Hats does add proper tension throughout the series. All right, now I've talked about, you know, the stuff I've loved, but there are some things that I think could have been improved upon. For starters, I think Usopp really gets the short end of the stick here. He doesn't really have that moment during Surf Village where he stands up for his fears out of pure determination to protect the village. He does sort of have a moment though, and that's when, you know, Kaya slaps him and tells him to leave, so he runs away crying in the anime. But in this, she slaps him, tells him to leave, and he's like, no, I'm gonna stay here and make sure that you're safe. And the music swells and everything, and it's great. It is a really good moment, but it's not enough to replace what they took out. And later in Arlong Park, Usopp pretends to be dead, you know, when he's fighting Chu, that whole scene. And then he finds out he's free and survived in the anime or manga, of course. But then he's overcome with shame for what he's doing because his friends are still fighting and he's escaped out of cowardice. So then he, you know, battles his mind until he calls Chu back. And it's like, you know what? No, I'm brave. I can do this. In the live action, he just pretends to be dead and then immediately calls Chu back. They made it look more like a strategic play than an actual moment of character development. They have the scene, but they cut out why the scene matters. And I think that was a big issue there. I did enjoy the fast pacing, I will be honest. But I do wish that there was just 2 more episodes. Just 2 more, even without Lowtown. Make Arlong Park 3 episodes. And use that other episode as just more time to stretch out other arcs that were rushed a bit. Something else to add is the score, because my goodness, the music is amazing. We've truly gotten what I believe to be one of the best scores in television. Not number 1, of course, but up there. If you don't believe me, that's okay, man, you know? But here, we're going to have a list of tracks. Just give these a listen. And if you disagree with me after you listen to them, hey, that's all good, you know? That's your opinion. If you loved them, great news, because the entire soundtrack is amazing. Netflix's One Piece has a completely original score. Although they do use some music from the anime, and it's great when they do. Big Sake, they even play an orchestral version of We Are a couple times. I will be honest, I wasn't expecting to hear Overtaken. But when they played Big Sake, I was like, ooh, really? Could we? And then they played We Are, and I was like, it's happening. We're going to hear Overtaken. And then we didn't, which is fine. The music that replaced it was also incredible, so, and probably my favorite track in the soundtrack, so that's this track, in case you're wondering. Since we're on that topic, let's just talk about that scene, because my goodness, is it good. Leading up to that scene, they build Nami's story really well. They build those emotional stakes. Of course, they take out the fact that Nami's village knows about her deal with Arlong, which is a big change, but if you haven't seen the anime or read the manga, I've never had an experience, that probably wouldn't take anything away, because it also does suit this version of the story. Again, I said just 1 more episode and I would have fleshed it out a bit more, but having already known the story, of course, not all the emotional beats hit well, but this one hit the hardest. Emily Rudd's performance is heart-wrenching, and then Yaki comes in and builds off of everything Emily's given him, and then we get one of the most hype beyond belief shots of Luffy, you know, walking to the others and getting ready to go defeat Arlong. And this is a culmination of every emotion and characteristic we have been watching the show bring forward. And this is the moment. This is it. This is the climax right here. And it's incredible. And in fact, it's the moment that I, as well as many other people, first really knew that One Piece was going to be something special. That it was going to be one of the greatest stories ever told. And before watching the live action, most people, including myself, knew that this was going to be the make or break scene, right? Doesn't matter how good or bad the show was before. This scene is everything, right? If the show was great and this scene sucked, it was going to leave a sour taste. If the show was bad and the scene was good, we'd probably be like, it wasn't great, but they did some stuff okay. It's not going to mean we love the show, but we're probably not going to be as hard on it if the scene nailed it. All right, so the show leading up to this point was all really good, and then this moment happened, and I've cried every time I've watched it, I'll be honest. Whether it be the clip or on my rewatches, every time it brings a tear to my eye. It's beautiful. So, in conclusion, is this the perfect series? No. Is it really good? Absolutely. And it's probably one of the best live action anime we've gotten. Probably. It's definitely one of the best live action anime that we've ever gotten. The cinematography is also really interesting. The acting is spot on. The action is incredible. The music, outstanding. And if you're still on the fence, I implore you to watch the show. You will not regret it, even if you haven't seen the anime or read the manga. And who knows, maybe watching the show will motivate you to go experience the original story of One Piece. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. Also, comment down below. This was just my opinion, and you have your own. So what was your favorite aspect or least favorite aspect of this reimagining of One Piece? Thanks for watching. I've been Shin Glassman, and I'll see you in the next one.